And, we know it takes a long time and a lot of effort to build a neighborhood, to create a community. We just celebrated our 90th birthday. We've been in, that's round of applause worthy. We have been in Arlington now for 7 decades, and it's really been over the last decade plus that the man to the left of me, President Cost, has really helped us recommit to Arlington and to be a catalyst for growth and development, not only for this community, but for Jacksonville. So
this complements a principle that has emerged from various activities that we try to undertake, which can really be summed up by the phrase, you do not need to move to live in a better neighborhood. You do not need to move to live in a better neighborhood. With that said, communities often overlook the importance of aesthetics, the importance of beauty. The value of aesthetics is on par with the broken window concept of policing. It helps to create a pride of place as much as a win-loss record of a sports team. Good aesthetics translate into good economics. Whether it's home values, attracting business relocations, retaining our adult children to stay in Jacksonville, or attracting additional visitors, aesthetics matter.
Neighborhoods, as you've heard, neighborhoods, it's the essence of what we do. And as we go through this tonight, we're just going to really talk neighborhoods. And I will tell you, these are the folks who made it happen for me here in District 1. And from day one, we worked together, and that's what it took. We understand exactly what it takes. It takes a village. Everyone is going to answer this question, and then I'm going to go through a few questions that are maybe more germane to each one of them. But first of all, thank you all for being here. What are you looking for? Oh my goodness.
Picture Frank Kinney.
Look at you.
Don't go anywhere without Frank Kinney.
Look at him. See, this is what makes him special already, okay? That's what makes him special, because Frank Kinney was special to all of us. And for him to have that here, and I'm just looking, what is he looking at? All right, it's gonna be good then. All right, for everyone, briefly tell us about your organization's priorities, pretty much what you're working on, and how that will help impact the future of Arlington. We'll start with you, Tim Costa.
We believe that we're not only just here in Arlington, we want to be of the community. You came in tonight, the gates were open. Those gates are going to be open for as long as I'm the president. I'm in my 12th year here. We're 90 years old a couple of weeks ago. We believe in Arlington. We've had lots of opportunities to do things in other places, but we keep doubling down and tripling down and investing. And if you'd like to walk around this campus, we're proud of what we've been able to do with safety and beautification. But there's a gentleman here who moved here in 1974 with his family, and he's not on the panel tonight, but I wonder if he wouldn't mind saying a few things in his last month as the head of the city council. Mr. Ron Salem. Ron?
Well, I would just say to Tim, we are so fortunate to have JU as a partner. I shudder to think where Arlington would be without the emphasis of opening up this campus and including Arlington as part of his vision. And you can look all over the place on this campus and what's happening at College Park, what happened at Blue Cypress this morning. I missed my tea time, but I did turn the dirt on 3 holes. So I just can't emphasize that. If we need to continue that partnership, Tim and I have worked together on this law school downtown. So it's a joint love affair between JU and the city and all.
Among many of the things they do, they mandated 3 things, and that is that all property owners, commercial property owners, and multifamily property owners must come into compliance with fencing, signage, and landscaping by April 28, 2025. What that means is that each commercial property owner will have to come into compliance with what that chapter was amended to say. So we created a grant program to help those property owners come into compliance, and the City Council approved a 100% grant to help offset the cost of those applications. So for fencing, basically it's for fencing for the commercial properties, new fencing 6 feet high, that run the boundary of the commercial property, especially if they front residential properties. Signage, one of the big things we heard when we were creating the CRA was that signage is sky bright. Please bring down the signs. So if the property owner has a pole sign, or one that's too large for what is now regulated in the overlay, we will pay for that sign to be removed, and we will replace it with a compliant monument sign. Great example, when you leave here tonight, Smart Tire, which is on the right-hand side, just finished their program today. They did fencing, signage, and landscaping, and we went out and did the final inspection and walkthrough today. You'll see a property that's done all three. It's fabulous. And landscaping. And landscaping is more than just planting some flowers and putting some trees in. It's actually required to put in a 4-foot buffer that fronts the right-of-way, which means a lot of that pavement and concrete that you see out there is going to go away. It is going to be landscaped. We are reconfiguring parking with conceptual plans that we create in our office and then provide them to the applicant, the property owner. You will see parking configurations changed. It's not only a beautification measure, but it's a safety measure, because a lot of the businesses in Arlington, when you drive University Boulevard and Mineral Road, have businesses where they back on to those boulevards where people are doing 50 miles an hour. So that is no longer allowed. A lot of the property changes you'll see will be right in and right out of properties, along with a lot of parking going to the back of the building and connectivity to those businesses along the back. So it's a wonderful program. I'm happy to report we have 199 applications in today.
Yes.
We're a little better than halfway there. I would ask that each of you, business owners in the area, ask them if they've applied. If they haven't, tell them they have till April 28th, 2025.
It began in 1993 with a dual mission, historic preservation and community revitalization. And if you might recall what Arlington was like or knew in the early 90s, this was coming out of the 80s, and things had started moving east and south and getting shinier and leaving a lot of the West Arlington behind. And basically that's how we got our name too. We did not like West Arlington Inc., so we settled on the old Arlington Inc. But our dual mission at that time was urgency to capture the history of Arlington that was being lost daily. And so we began that, and also stopped the demolition of the Norman Studios, halted that, and 20 years later it becomes a National Historic Landmark. So that was so today we're heavily involved in the mid-century modern. Our annual home tour is a big priority. And then on the other working side, we do all we can to support this CRA, their initiatives, that compliance grant program, the workshop that was held here at JU, just a couple months ago. And a great example of all the collaboration that's kind of going on these days. But OAI is trying to be kind of the wrap of Arlington in that sense. And that was kind of our design when we formed it. And 31 years later, here we are.
So JAX Chamber Arlington Council is one of 11 councils as part of the chamber. We are the oldest council, and we're the only still true community-based council. Others, they're based on your what you do, healthcare, IT, but we're Arlington, and so we take that really to heart. And while we're business-based, our goal is to help businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, connect, learn, grow. We're also very community-oriented. We support 5 Arlington schools. We also were very involved in organizations like OAI and supporting the CRA. making friends with JU and supporting what is happening here. So we truly understand that business is about community. And so, if we can grow business, we can grow community, we can grow students, and have just a much better community for all of us. So that's what the Arlington Council does. And we would love to have you all join us the last Wednesday of every month for a program.
And what time is that again?
7:30.
Don't forget that little part.
I want to, just by way of introduction, our organization, Northeast Florida Association of Realtors, is the largest trade organization in the Jacksonville area, 12,000 members, and not by accident, quite a few of those realtors including myself, have chosen to make Arlington their home, and there is actually quite a few realtors in this area. And really, we share the same goals as the rest of the panel. The CRA and some of the things we've talked about. Steve kind of stole my thunder a little bit, because I was going to mention actually the Arlington Mod and Mortuoric Homes from this past October as well, because we were the main sponsor for that, and we hope to be again this year. Some of our priorities are, and especially as they relate to Arlington, are improving the communities, improving the roadways, improving not just the transportation, but the waterways, converting, little by little septic over to the city water, and just being good community stewards. A lot of people look towards their realtors as the first person that they meet when they're moving here from another area. To that point, we do a huge cleanup. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but every year the realtors statewide, but especially in Northeast Florida, do a waterways cleanup. That will be happening again June 27th. And although we have areas throughout the 6-county area of boat ramps, things like that, the largest focal point for the one coming up this year is going to be the Lions boat ramp in Arlington. We're also going to be taking boats out to clean up Goat Island, because there's a lot of trash and litter out there. So look for us on June 27th for that. We also look forward to, we work cooperatively with Mayport Naval Station. We have a lot of the realtors that are actually military, either active or retired. There's actually a designation in real estate called the Military Relocation Professional, so we're helping people move in and out of Mayport, and in some cases settle permanently in Jacksonville. We are concerned probably about some of the same things that others are concerned about. The signage is of course very important to realtors. Crime, which I'm sure you probably have a question in there about, but crime is probably a deterrent to people moving to our area, so that is something we're concerned about as well.
What keeps me up at night is that people lose their energy or lose their will, or they're no longer elected officials, or they age out, or the next generation doesn't care as much as we do. I love Arlington. I mean, as a teenager, I ran these roads because that's what pitchers had to do back in those days. 7 miles every day, all over Arlington. And I called back to New York. I said, this is the most beautiful place I ever saw. Green, incredible houses on the waterfront. I came back and took this job in late 2012. Said to my wife, wait till you see Arlington. Drove her all around and I said, I'm sorry, it's changed. But that's happened all over the country. And our goal is to make it what I think it can be. So to me, what keeps me up at night is that we not flag in our agreement that this will be a great, great community. Because we're committed. We've been here a long time and we're not moving.
One of the things that keeps me up at night is that the CRA redevelopment plan is a solid plan, parcel by parcel. And it has to be enforced in compliance at all times. And he mentioned council members leaving. Right now, the council members are still very well aware. The CRA is still a little new, but as new ones come in, we lose that meaning, and parcels start to fall out with different developers coming in asking for relief from what is required to overlay and being compliant with the plan. And once they come out parcel by parcel, that plan starts to fall apart a little bit. So that is one of the things that keeps me up and concerning to me about the future of the CRA. One thing you asked me about underutilized. Okay, one thing that I would mention that might surprise you that's underutilized in my opinion is I have a dream, and I know it's a long way out, that we will connect downtown to the marina and JU via water taxes.
Yes.
So that we can actually get people back and forth to downtown without having to use your cars. It's a long way out, and I know there's so many other things that you think, oh, we could probably be doing on the boulevards, but it's just one of those things. I think the river is underutilized as a fun way to enjoy Arlington and connect it to the river, especially with the Core to Coast loop that connects downtown through that loop all the way to the beaches, where you could have, and it is scheduled to run up Arlington Road, which is why we're starting the Complete Streets restriping project on Arlington Road. You will see a project that comes out that will look like a complete streets project. It's a restriping project. It will follow complete street things with parking on the street, bike lanes, and it's to start people thinking about that connection to the marina, so that one day it will all go all the way and connect to that loop where it follows around. And if you see a map, it'll make sense to you. It's hard to describe here. But as when you talk about those resources that we don't think about, that's one that I think about constantly.
Arlington is very unique, both in architecture and also to its location. For me, it's really the center of all of Duval County. It's accessible completely on most sides of Arlington to the river, close to downtown, right over the bridge. So I would disagree with something you just said, though. I think Arlington is actually a very big focal point for real estate.
We like to hear that, right?
Yes.
We like to hear that.
One of the questions, and I'm going to give you an example. So one of the questions that I know that we may be discussing is, in the community, we talk about residents and businesses, but we also talk about investors.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville as a whole is one of the best places to invest in real estate, period, in the entire Southeast U.S. of any major metro area, because of its affordability and all of its resources, the port, the railway, the highway system, everything. Arlington, within Jacksonville, is one of the best places to invest. The dichotomy there is first-time home buyers largely look towards Arlington as a possibility for their first home, but they're always competing against investors who look towards Arlington. I'll tell you, two of the most popular zip codes for real estate is 32211 and 32277, which make up most of Arlington. I feel that as far as underutilized assets, I think that we need to look at, and I know the CRA is part of this, but look at economic incentives to bring people into Arlington specifically, and do more of a PR campaign, maybe in concert with the realtors, because it's certainly a priority of ours. But I mean, Arlington makes up a huge amount of houses in the central Jacksonville area. I will give you a quick stat, just because I wouldn't be a realtor if I didn't give you any stats. Right now, Arlington has under 2 months supply of inventory. Why is that concerning? Because a healthy market has about 5 to 6 months of marketing where you have an equilibrium between buyers and sellers. So Arlington has a very short supply of inventory. What we need to do is incentivize. I mean, not that we want anybody to move away from Arlington, but there's not enough inventory really to supply the number of people who would like to move here. Arlington, I'll throw one more stat at you. This month, a year ago, if you look at April it's actually April from last April. Property values on average in Arlington, the median sales price went up 24% in 1 year. And that is higher than a lot of parts of Jacksonville. So I would say Arlington is a very strong focal point. It just needs, as an entity, as a community within Jacksonville, to do more public relations so people are aware of Arlington on its own, not just as part of the City of Jacksonville.
Well, the answer might surprise you, Joyce, but I don't. You think of collaborating, it has only been in recent times. There hasn't been any collaboration. There was a lot of silence for decades. The 90s, the aughts, teens, you didn't see a lot. There wasn't a lot coming out of Arlington. The organizations, OAI, Great Arlington Civic Council, some of our Rotaries, Kiwanis, those kinds, had an aging membership. And you saw that kind of peel off some of those numbers. I can tell you in OAI, we shrunk down, and by the time COVID was there, it was hard for groups to survive through that time. and especially with Arlington, with its heavy working agenda. And it's been really, I think Tim has been a catalyst here at JU, but the other group, the Chamber, joining in the last couple of years with this, with the city, we've been partnering with OED, and the Greater Arlington Civic Council. Lad Hawkins is here tonight, and they go back to 1976 when they were formed to oppose the Craig Field runway extension. Okay, Ron's shaking his head here. And I was going to say, and GACC still exists, just for probably, at least for that reason. But the collaboration will get better as the narrative gets better, as these kinds of events get better, as the mid-century picks up, as the media reports. It's been wonderful to read media accounts over the last 6 months that have Arlington in a positive vein. It's not something that we saw a lot of for a thing. So I would say that there's synergy building for that collaboration, and you're witness to it right here.
So mark your calendars, September 21st.
Yep.
A very active Arlington resident and business owner, Janice Curry, puts on Arlington 2020 and involves a lot of organizations in that. It's a run and a festival, and certainly something that we hope with y'all's support will continue to grow and be a real signature element within Arlington, because I think that that's, one of the things that keeps me up at night is people's perception of Arlington. When you ask someone where they live and they say, I live in Riverside, I live in Springfield, I live in Mandarin, and you ask someone, that lives in Arlington, and it's almost like I live in Arlington, and we have to stop that perception from within, but we also have to stop the perception externally of what the community is, because it's a beautiful community. So, and events like Celebrate Arlington, I think, can bring people to the community and showcase kind of what we tried to do with the riverboat tour and the trolley tour, to bring people to Arlington. So it's not just what you see going 60 miles an hour down the Arlington Expressway. It's a beautiful community, so that's what we need to showcase.
Can you get people just to agree first on some general vision, and then you can't leave anybody behind? We're a large employer. There's 700 people who work on a 250-acre campus with 2 million square feet under roof. We have a role to play. We believe it should be open. You should come here. We hope your children and grandchildren come to school here. When we have basketball games, we hope you come here. The whole idea of the role, there simply isn't a great city in America that doesn't have a great private university in it. That's where the private universities go. New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago. The state universities go to big places like Starkville, Mississippi, and Gainesville, Florida, and State College, Pennsylvania. That's where the big state universities go. So you come down and you can be this economic, vital engine to what's going on here. And that's what we were trying to put the CRA together, and we volunteered to carve JU out of it. We've then gone ahead and done $200 million of investment on campus. Had it still been in it, we might, CRA, Mr. Chairman, might look different today. But I think that was a fair political, we split that baby in half. And then trying to get people, remember how many years ago that was? It feels like, Steve, 50 years ago. It was less than 10 years ago.
Exactly.
So if we need Arlington 2030, Arlington 2040, whatever it takes to keep people's fires lit, that's what we need intensely.
I would like to see us do more specific projects in Arlington. We do actually a lot in Arlington, but I would like to see us target Arlington more, help with some of the schools as well, like was mentioned, what we can do there. We do things with like storm preparedness, making it a big thing. Like you asked most homeowners what their biggest concern would be. It's probably insurance right now. Interest rates a little bit, but more so insurance. And we're stewards to make sure that the insurance industry is not taking advantage of homeowners driving up rates, saying, oh, you're missing a shingle, you need a whole new roof. And I'm sure some of you might have had somebody on your doorstep saying, oh, you have a little hail damage on your roof, you need a whole new roof. That sounds great, but it drives up insurance costs for everyone, and that's one of the barriers to homeownership. Another thing that we're looking at, and is a big priority of ours, is affordable housing. So there's a great disparity between the average homeowner and our workforce that can't afford the average home. It's becoming less and less affordable for our most of our workforce. And they're having to come from farther and farther away and outskirts rather than living in the communities that they work in, including Arlington. So affordable housing is something that we're trying to tackle. You probably heard of the Hometown Heroes initiative. The governor was also part of that. So we're working statewide, but also definitely in Northeast Florida about the Hometown Heroes, making sure our fire, police, our teachers all have houses that they can afford.
I have a vision of Arlington being a walkable, safe community, teeming with shops and restaurants and services where people can ride their bikes to have dinner or take their families out to have dinner. I think we will get there, and it's happening a little faster than we anticipated with the CRA, and I attribute that to what President Cost is doing here at JU. They are an economic engine that has helped us with our TIF and helped us to create a better Arlington and have brought attention to Arlington. So my dream is for you to go out, maybe to hop on your bike or walk down to a restaurant and have dinner. I think it's coming. The infill is coming, starting with College Park and moving our way in. There's a lot of interest. I get calls at least 2 or 3 times a week from developers who are inquiring about what's going on and where the opportunities are.
I mean, I'd take that magic wand and I would wave it over the Arlington Expressway and I would change that into a project that starts at the Matthews Bridge with a welcome to Arlington entranceway, and that landscaping and theme and those broken window syndrome is gone. And that's tied to the perception. And I think that, you change that expressway, you've changed the perception of Arlington. And if you understand what the expressway was when it was built, and the two-way service roads, and the resort hotels, not the weekly, monthly ones we have, the Publixes and the bowling alleys and the restaurants from every single cuisine, and of course the Calico Jacks and the Antiques, and all that was the Arlington Expressway.
Yeah.
And you traversed bi-directional two-way service roads the entire length. And it was when they started changing it, it went to one way, and your access to those businesses started eroding. And then you watch what happened to those businesses, and then you've seen what happens and what the whole Jacksonville thinks Arlington looks like.
And I'm going to echo something Steve said about Arlington Expressway. Hopefully, in way less than 20 years, the Beltway will also be expanded and be similar to what's happened south of St. John's Bluff. So that way, that is expanded and traversable and easily accessible all the way up to the bridge and all the way down to where it opens up into more lanes now. Like, they need to finish widening the Beltway because a lot of people, of course, hit morning traffic between Merrill Road and St. John's Bluff in that area, Town Center. It's one of the slowest parts of the East Beltway. So both the Arlington Expressway and the Beltway, if they were expanded and developed a little bit more, would be great. But I like the restaurants. And also, I'll throw in one thing realtor specific is I would like to see any abandoned homes, abandoned properties, commercial, residential, whatever it has, rehab. Take advantage of all the places that have fallen into disrepair, whether it's a lot, whether it's a house, and kind of bring back any blighted areas of our community.
It's a vital, vibrant community that people want to move to, that we're celebrating our mid-century modern history, which I can't believe Steve didn't mention that, that is absolutely celebrated. That we have our own Emerald Trail that goes from the Expressway, Nina, all the way to the parks, the preserves up north of here. That we have waterfront dining at bars and restaurants on the water.
Wow.
And and
that.
let's not wait 20 years because I'm not going to be old enough. I'm going to be too old to enjoy those.
No, it's going to be walkable. Remember, Trish, it's going to be walkable. We can see it. We can see it. But how can people join and be a part of what you're doing? Be a part of the change.
Sure. So, I mean, we really focus on reaching out to businesses, small businesses, there's probably, we rely on people to be a member of the chamber and then they can join the council. So we have a pretty high percentage of chamber members who are in the zip codes of 257711 who are members of our council. But we are always promoting, even if a business can't afford to be a member of the big chamber, as we call it, we're always promoting the other organizations and the other opportunities within Arlington, and to support things like Celebrate Arlington, Old Arlington Inc., and to help promote like the CRA and the workshops and things, because it's very important for us to be of the community, as Tim would say. And even if it's not directly impacting business per se, it's impacting community. So you join the chamber, then you can join the council, but you can always come visit us, as we said, and we always offer opportunities to volunteer and to be a part of the events that we put on.
I've never once apologized that this university's in Arlington. It drives me crazy. Don't do it around me. This is a great town, and it could be so much better. So cohesive would be what I would be thinking about. We teach persistence and optimism, respect and teamwork to 18-year-olds. We are able to teach it to each other here in Arlington. Thank you.
What would you like to see happen at the Regency Square Mall? Thanks.
Ramel, Blackwater Development. In answer to your question, kind of goes along with what President Koss said here in some of his opening remarks. It's really about the vision and reality. Those two lines have to merge somewhere. I can draw whatever I want on a piece of paper and sell it, but if the market doesn't support it, there's no way to be able to provide that. So when I look at the Regency Mall, and this has really been a love affair for me for probably the past 5-6 years or more, I see a mixed-use development. We look at that property and I think what works for the community, how can the people in the community benefit from that property? So instead of just looking at it from a development standpoint, and of course, when you do something like this, it has to perform, it has to make money. That's the only way any of us can do the things that we do. It has to be profitable. But the reality is we want to create a vibrant property project that benefits the neighborhood and benefits the constituents in that area. So in answer to your question, what I see is a mixed-use development, and we're currently working on putting that together, but it'll be a mixture of multifamily, retail, entertainment, and that, will revitalize that property.
Thanks. Alan Bliss with the Jacksonville History Center. It has been our pleasure to collaborate with the leadership and members of Old Arlington Incorporated this past year and a half in advocating for mid-century modern preservation and adaptive reuse. That's faithful to our mission. We think that public history education and preservation strengthens neighborhoods and strengthens citizenship, and Arlington is a model of how that works. So I'm very encouraged. My concern is unrelated or tangentially related to that. The John Matthews Bridge, the significant piece of infrastructure that connects Arlington to downtown Jacksonville and to much of the rest of the city, is 72 years old this year. It was designed and engineered with technology very similar to the Francis Scott Key Bridge that crosses the Patapsco River in Baltimore. I don't think very many people need to be reminded of the fate of that bridge. The bridge has no capacity to support bicycle or pedestrian traffic. It has no breakdown lanes. All it takes is one accident to bring traffic to a standstill on the bridge. Its support piers have no fender protection against strikes by significant sized vessels. The Department of Transportation says that they have zero intention of doing anything to modify, alter, or change the bridge. They treat it as a historic bridge, and their mission is to simply maintain it. I was astonished to hear that from the local planning director with the district DOT. And I think that it would be a heavy lift to replace that bridge. There are all kinds of logistical and infrastructure issues related to that. But if we're talking about a vision of 20 years, I call on the administration, the city council, the 5 different organizations that are responsible for transportation planning, in Northeast Florida, our legislative delegation from the state, and even our U.S. Congressman to convene a task force to start to try to address some way that we can embark on what will certainly be an ambitious long-range project to replace that bridge.
And I love Arlington. I'm so excited about all the things that we talked about. Guys, I just turned 82. I have a limited amount of time to enjoy this, so let's get going.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are the change. You are the change agents. You can do it, and we can all do it together. So thank you so much for allowing me to be your moderator.